Welcome back to Half the Battle. I'm your host, as always, Daniel Levy, and today we're going to be talking about UFC 287. I don't know if you want to call it the rematch or the quadrilogy, but either way, Alex Pereira, Poatan, is rematching Israel Adesanya for the second time in MMA and for the fourth time in combat sports. So this should be unbelievable. And guys, it's going down this Saturday night live in Miami, Florida, from the Miami-Dade Arena. Is it Miami-Dade or Miami-Dade? You know what I'm saying? But either way, y'all know exactly what we're tuning in for. And guys, this is one of the most unique rematches, trilogies, quadrilogies, just rivalries in the history of the sport for a variety of reasons, because it's like Izzy's like winning all these fights until he's not, right? So we know he's got the skills to win this fight. It's just there's a lot of psychological components, knowing you've lost to this man 3 times, you've been stopped by this man twice, and it's not like one of those things where, you know, the dude was just outclassing you, the dude was just way better than you, he just blew you out the water and this and that. It was like a case where it's like Izzy was damn competitive, was winning rounds in all these fights, and like there is a path to victory for Israel Adesanya here. So without further ado, we're going to break down the entire card, starting with the main event all the way down to the first prelim. Y'all smash the like button for me, hit the subscribe button for me. When this is done, leave me a comment, and let's get down to business, because in the main event for the middleweight belt, we got the champ, Alex Poatan Pereira. He's 7-1, representing Brazil, taking on Israel Adesanya, who's 23-2, repping Nigeria and New Zealand. Now, before I mention the odds, I had to look up what Poatan meant, because, I did the little Google Translate, right? Trying to change it from, how does it translate from Portuguese to English? And I typed in Poatan. They didn't have anything for me. So then I go to my Brazilian jiu-jitsu professor. I was like, hey, man, what does Poatan mean in Portuguese? He's like, I don't know. My boy was born in Brazil. He doesn't know. So I asked 2 of my Brazilian teammates, and they were able to give me an answer. And basically what they said was Poatan means hands of stone in Alex's indigenous language. He's part of a badass tribe, this and that. So they call him Poatan over there, which means hands of stone. And that's a very fitting nickname if you know anything about this man's just nuclear left hook. I mean, we're talking about World War III coming up, man. And I mean, I feel like Alex Pereira's left hook could be a prime weapon in, hopefully that never happens. But anyways, main event of the evening. You guys know their records. You guys know who they are. Currently, they got it. Israel Adesanya minus 135. The comeback on Alex Pereira is plus 115. So this is really intriguing for a lot of reasons, because this is literally one of those fights where I can make a solid case for both guys. Like, I can make a legitimate argument for both guys winning this fight, and I can sound confident on both sides. Listen, if I'm going to make the Izzy Adesanya argument, my guy Oscar, my guy Leo's over here trying to put on a show. He stole my shoe. Now he's trying to show off that he stole my shoe. But the reason that you can make an argument for both these guys winning this fight, and you can make that argument confidently from the Izzy side of things, I believe if you're betting Izzy, you're going to be saying stuff like this. Well, listen, last time he was minus 200, he was minus 250. So not only are we getting a discount on Izzy this time, being that he's only minus 135, this is the lowest price Israel's ever been in his UFC career. But then you're also going to mention how, look, in the first fight, a lot of people thought Izzy won, maybe got robbed. Second fight, Izzy was putting it on Alex, and then he got slept. Third fight, I mean, on the judges' scorecards, it was, 3-1 Izzy going into the 5th, and Poatan pulled it out. But I feel like this last fight, man, the MMA one they had, like, we talk about how, okay, well, if Alex didn't tee off on him at the end, Izzy was going to win that decision and this and that. But like, it's so easy to sit here and say stuff like, well, all Izzy has to do is just avoid these power shots, and he comes out here and wins this fight. And I'm just not convinced it's that simple. Like, for example, okay, so let's go back to round 1 of the UFC fight they had, right? And all anyone remembers from round one was the end of round one, right? The end of round one when at the bell, Izzy hit him with a nasty, it was a straight right followed by a left hook, had him, on a street that I don't know the name of, right? You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing. Up until that point, that was a close ass round, man. That was a round that could have gone either way. Like, I don't definitively think that Izzy was winning that first round until he almost knocked him out with like 10 seconds left. And again, that's not to say that he wouldn't have gone a 10-9 regardless or this or that, but I'm just saying that like it was a competitive first round up until then. Second round, super competitive as well. Alex closes it off with a nice takedown, which we didn't expect. We didn't expect Alex to go for takedowns on Izzy, caught him with that element of surprise, and, sealed off a very close round with a big end. So the first two rounds have a lot of commonalities. They're super, super close up until the very end. First round, Izzy rocks Alex. Second round, Alex takes down Izzy. So it's 1-1 going to the third. Now, here's the common misconception, because I hear people talking about how, the adjustment Izzy needs to make is he just needs to come out here and just take him down. It's that simple. Just take him down, right? And I don't think it's that simple. And I'll tell you why. Because let's examine the actual techniques that took place when Izzy took down Alex in that third round. So what actually happened was, so they get caught up in the clinch, and Alex actually tries to go for a little cheeky throw, kind of like a hip toss, a judo throw. I'm not exactly sure what he was trying to do, but he was trying to go for some kind of cheeky throw. And Izzy had the body lock, so he just used his momentum against him and got him down on the ground. Now from there, I want to bring this up before I talk about how, Izzy definitely dominated that third round on the ground. But before I talk about that, you know how these guys are like super high level kickboxers, right? When you watch these guys strike, it's the top of the top in MMA as far as how good someone can be, when, what kind of level someone can reach when it comes to the striking realm of things. And you already know that Izzy and Alex are the two best strikers in MMA. So every time they were striking, it was a chess match. It was beautiful. It was technical. It was, a game of inches. It was like I said, chess match. There were mind games going on, feints, this and that. All right. But then when it came down to the grappling, it was pretty funny because, okay, it's easy to sit here and say that, like, it was kind of lower level grappling, but it's not lower level grappling compared to the average man. I mean, we were still dealing with, a purple belt versus a brown belt in there. But the reason why aesthetically it looked a lot lower level is because the heights that these guys are on kickboxing wise is like, multiple degree black belts in jiu-jitsu terms, right? So when you go from, black belt level kickboxing to, purple and brown belt level grappling, that's why it was kind of funny to watch them, because like in the UFC, like, guys, we're used to scrambles between Sarukian and Gamrot. We're used to scrambles between Beneil Dariush and Gamrot, right? That's what high level grappling looks like in the UFC. Two black belts, a credentialed wrestler, this and that, right? So when you saw Alex and Izzy grappling, it was lower level for the standards that we're used to in the UFC. It wasn't lower level in terms of like I said, it wasn't like two white belts grappling. It was a brown belt and a purple belt. And Alex is out there. He gets back up, and then he's rolling for leg locks and this and that. He actually got his brown belt after the fight, which people think is funny, but I actually like the reasoning of his coach. I mean, jiu-jitsu is about survival. You survive the bad spots. You attempted a submission. You got a takedown. Like, hey, and you won the UFC belt. Here's your brown belt, my boy. So that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, just the difference in level between their grappling and their striking was pretty amusing to watch. And that's not disrespect. I'm just a purple belt, but I'm saying like, like I said, when you're watching like Carlos Diego Ferreira and Gregor Gillespie, right? Like that is high level grappling at the UFC level. So that being said, the reason I'm bringing up the grappling is because I hear a lot of people talking about how, well, hey, Izzy just has to make this adjustment, come out here and get Alex down to the ground. And the reason why I don't think it's going to be that simple is because every single time that Izzy tried to go for a single leg or a double leg, traditional wrestling takedowns, it got stuffed every single time. Alex stuffed those takedowns, man. But the one that he did not stuff was actually, initiated by Alex. Alex tried to go for some cheeky throw. Izzy got the body lock, reversed him beautifully, and then held him down for the duration of that round. So third round, another one we give to Izzy, right? Fourth round was another one of those rounds that it was fucking close, man. That fourth round was close. I slightly edged Izzy, but it was a competitive ass round. So then we go into the fifth. You got Alex's corner telling him, like, dude, like, you got to put this guy away. And it wasn't even like the Leon Edwards fight versus Usman, the head kick one where, like, in between rounds, like, don't let him bully you, son. And, all that stuff. Like what was his coach saying to him? Like, stop feeling sorry for yourself and all this stuff. You didn't have to give him a speech like that. You just basically had to tell him, like, Izzy or Alex, like, you need to go out there and become the champ right now. Like, they weren't panicking or anything, but they let him know very firmly that, like, hey, step on the gas pedal, go out there and get this guy out of there. And that's what he was able to do. Now, whether you consider that an early stoppage or not, look, Izzy was 100% rocked. Like, we cannot debate that. Could they have let it go on a little bit longer? My opinion, yes. But that doesn't take away from Alex's amazing win, because Alex felt the sense of urgency. He went right after him. He had him wobbling all over the place. And in my opinion, had Mark Goddard let it go on a little longer, he would have got the finish. But let me also say this. What's interesting is that Goddard was also the ref when Izzy fought Kelvin Gastelum in Atlanta, Georgia, right? At UFC 236. And if you watch that fifth round, like, Mark Goddard was letting Kelvin Gastelum get dropped time after time after time, and he wasn't stopping that fight. Whereas with Izzy, he stopped it standing. So kind of makes you question a little bit, like, like what's the deal, man? Like, why does this guy get a little bit more rope and this guy not? But I'm not going to debate that Izzy was rocked and was pretty fucking close to going down. It's just, there wasn't a knockdown there, so I think they could have let it go on a little bit longer, but still a legit stoppage. I mean, he still had him hurt. He still went for it. He still did exactly what he needed to do, bite down on that mouthpiece and go right after him and get him out of there. And that's what he did. So respect to him. So now it comes down to this, in my opinion, because, like, the skills are so high level on both ends that both guys can win this fight. Like, that goes without saying. I can talk about, who's going to damage whose peroneal nerve first with the calf kicks, or who can land to the chin first, and this and that. We don't fucking know. But the thing I think is more important in this fight is the psychology between the fighters. Like, what kind of mental edge are we dealing with here with Alex Pereira over Izzy? Because historically speaking, when champs lose their belt, in the immediate rematch, they lose that immediate rematch over 70% of the time. Now, I said 70%. I didn't say 100%, because there are exceptions, whether it was Stipe, whether it was Amanda Nunes. There's been exceptions. And I'm not talking about guys that, got their belt stripped or vacated due to injury. I'm talking about people that lost the fight, fair and square, lost their belt, and then came back for an immediate rematch. They tend not to do as well. And then more narrative talk. One of Izzy's coaches was caught on record saying, hey, maybe we should have taken a little bit more time before we just jump right back in there. But that being said, you say that about Izzy, coming off the loss, where's your confidence, this and that. What we can say about Alex is this is the biggest middleweight I have ever seen. And thank God he's as disciplined as he is. Thank God he's as locked in, because otherwise there's no way in hell this guy would be making 185. And even with how, on top of his game he is, I hear this guy is just, like, first guy in the gym, last guy out, on top of everything, just lives and breathes this shit. So, I don't think that him missing weight would be a case of, oh, Alex decided to eat a slice of pizza on fight week or any bullshit, or Alex skipped his runs. No, it would just come down to, like, him outgrowing the weight class. So that's what I would kind of be, worried about, whether it's this fight, whether it's going forward, how many more fights, how many more times can Alex make this grueling weight cut? Because that is a big boy. Because, I mean, like, look, they list them both at 6'4", but between you and me, Alex is like 6'5", 6'6". He is definitely the larger man in there. And yeah, I'm just curious to see what kind of a toll these weight cuts are going to have on Alex. And then with Izzy, where's the confidence at? Because of course he's going to have successful moments in this fight. I mean, we're talking about a guy, some of the best footwork, some of the best feints, just his brain is just on a different level. This is a very intelligent fighter. But when you talk about those adjustments and people talk about how, oh, he just has to fight a perfect fight and this and that, it's like, I don't think he has, like, saying he has to fight a perfect fight implies that Alex Pereira can only win this fight by knockout, right? I don't think he has to fight a perfect fight to win, man. I think that either of these guys can come out here and win a decision. I think either of these guys can come out here and knock each other out. Izzy almost knocked him out at the end of the first round. Alex almost knocked him out at the end of the fifth round. It was considered a TKO, but I'm saying actually knockout, like, you know, someone drops and goes to sleep, right? Not one where even if we thought it was a legit stoppage, you know, there was still a little wiggle room, like let the guy go down, right? So like, I know that both guys can hurt each other. I know that both guys can chop each other down with the legs. I know that both guys can have success on the mat if they're on top. So this is an amazing matchup. So to me, you know, fuck the semantics, fuck the, easy to talk about, well, if Alex doesn't land his left hook and Pereira, blah, 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 like stop all that. I'm thinking more psychological when it comes to a matchup like this, man. I'm trying to think like who's got the mental edge. And I think it is Pereira. It's just one of those things where it's like you also think about it from this standpoint. Izzy comes out here and beats Pereira, and guess what? They're running it back. And guess what? That'll be one of the biggest trilogies in the history of the sport. If Izzy wins this fight, they give Alex an immediate rematch. I mean, that's going to be history right there, man. So I think that, you know, as long as there's not some fluke injury, I think like no matter what, as long as there's not some bullshit like where, you know, a torn ACL or like whatever, there's a good chance we see him running back again, unless Alex makes it definitive this time, right? Like, if this is like a controversial split decision for Alex, don't be surprised if they run it back, right? Like, if people think it's an early stoppage, don't be surprised if they run it back. So that's what I got to say regarding that. But it's just such a hard fight to call because Izzy can absolutely win this fight. Izzy's won moments versus Alex in all three fights. Alex has won moments versus Izzy in all three fights. So, and then this is one of those fights where it really comes down to like, well, you know, if they fight 10 times, what happens, right? Because like, usually like, yeah, I like to cap my fights and I like to, you know, give my line. How many times do I think, you know, I think a guy beats him 6 out of 10 times. So minus 150, right? Just saying for argument's sake. But, you know, usually they only run it one time. So you don't have to have that conversation. Whereas here, this is literally the fourth time they're running it. Like, so we're getting into the territory where like Izzy can steal one, you know what I'm saying? So my pick is going to be Alex, and it's just, I'm not confident. But then again, when I'm not confident, like I tend to lean towards the dog, plus the history of, you know, the long reigning champion losing their belt, coming back in the immediate rematch. Over 70% of the time they lose that fight. And it hasn't been that long since it happened. So, and when I say that, you know, that's more psychological, you know, that's more negative on the psychological side for Izzy, and it's more negative on the weight cut side for Alex. So I cannot wait. This is an amazing fight. I'm going to pick Alex, but, you know, let's see. I can't sit here and act surprised if a guy on the caliber of Izzy makes the right adjustments and comes out here and wins. I cannot be surprised by that. But, you know, Alex, you know, there's a famous quote by Teddy Atlas talking about how, you know, these champs level up 30% after they win the belt. I want to see, and it's a confidence thing. It's like, you feel like, you know, before you won the belt, you're trying to prove like, am I really that guy? Now that he knows he's that guy, I mean, confidence has to be sky high. So yeah, I cannot wait to see their press conference, see what kind of mind games they're playing with each other, and ultimately the fight Saturday night. I think it's going to be epic. I think it's going to be one of the best fights in middleweight history. And another thing we got to take into consideration is that, like oftentimes with these rematches, the fights don't often go the same. Like just because it almost went all 5 rounds last time, that doesn't mean it's going to get to the second round this time. Like for example, y'all remember when Machida and Shogun had that 5-round war? A lot of people thought Shogun won, right? They rematch for the title. Shogun knocks him out in the first round, like it's nothing, right? And I can name you endless amounts of examples of that kind of shit happening, whether it was Benson Henderson versus Anthony Pettis, right? They had the 5-round war. Anthony Pettis jumps off the cage, kicks his head into the 5th row. Kicks his head, in the 5th round, kicks his head into the 5th row, right? And then they rematch in the UFC for the belt again, and Anthony armbars him in round 1. You can look at Pettis and Cerrone, right? First time body kick knockout in round 1, second time close controversial decision. Look at Wiley and Joanna. First time 5-round war, second time destruction, spinning back fist knockout. So I'm just saying, no 2 fights, no 4 fights are created equally. So, man, I cannot wait to see how this one goes down. I'm going to lean with Alex. So let's see. Co-main event of the evening in the welterweight division. We got Gilbert Burns. He's 21-5, taking on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, who's 35-16. And currently they got it. Gilbert Durinho minus 470. The comeback on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal is plus 375. So, I mean, dude, a couple of years ago, you're jumping all over those Jorge odds, like no questions asked. And I feel like, man, this could be Jorge Masvidal's last fight, man. I mean, what better way to go out than in Miami? I know he's got his delusions of grandeur and he wants to come out and knock out Burns, which I'm not saying can't happen. I mean, in Burns' last 2 losses, he got dropped by jabs, you know what I'm saying? And not to laugh off, the power of Usman or Chimaev, or to disrespect someone so high level by Burns, but I'm just saying he's not impervious to being rocked, to being dropped, to being beaten. And also, I don't think Gilbert Burns' volume is exactly the best. So a few years ago, man, like Jorge Masvidal, man, like people need to understand, like, because I know some of the newer fans, they just saw him get knocked out by Kamaru. They saw him, get grinded out by Colby. So they think that's representative of Masvidal's entire career. Dog, if you've been watching Masvidal as long as I have, and as long as I have, is like, I remember going to my girlfriend's apartment back in college, fucking pulling up a Shark Fights stream on some bootleg to watch Jorge Masvidal fight Paul Daly. So I grew up watching this guy. And when he loses fights, for the most part, it's usually like a controversial split decision. Like the famous saying was always Jorge Masvidal gets robbed more than a 7-Eleven, right? It was never, oh, Jorge Masvidal gets knocked out every fight. And the last time Jorge got submitted was that fucking inverted triangle by Toby Amata a million years ago. He got knocked out by Usman, but prior to that, he had been dropped in some fights, like the Darren Cruikshank fight, but like he had never been stopped besides the Rodrigo Dam fight. And even that I thought was an early stoppage. So basically what I'm trying to say is this, that like stylistically speaking, Jorge's got the goods. It's just Jorge, he's a fight away from retirement. And that's the issue here. It's tough to separate your past love for, an OG of the sport, a guy that you grew up watching, and to now see their current form, it's hard to kind of separate that nostalgia. Like, does he have one left and this and that? But it's just because, like, in his prime form, his hands are up nice and high. His boxing combinations are crisp and tight. This guy will chop down your leg, but he's got nice inside leg kicks, man. Obviously, about his flying knees. I mean, he choked out Michael Chiesa with a Darce choke. Like, this dude, Masvidal, I don't know if y'all remember when he gave James Krause a tour of the Octagon. He gave James Krause an MMA clinic. Like, in Masvidal's prime, man, like, I'd actually bet him at these odds against Gilbert Burns. Here's the thing with Gilbert Durinho. So he's a guy that's impressed me a lot because when he used to fight at lightweight, I was not sold on him. Like, I've always been sold on his jiu-jitsu, of course. I mean, world champion black belt, this and that. But like, I feel like he's really developed that one-hitter quitter. His volume's gotten a little bit better. I always had an issue with his strike defense. I felt like, he's kind of slower at moving his head. I felt like his chin wasn't the best. But listen, he's made it to top 5 on the planet. So you got to give him credit there. The only reason I'm leaning Gil, and I say lean, this minus 500 or whatever is not a lean price. It's just because I think Jorge Masvidal is going to retire in this fight here in Miami. Throw those gloves down in the center of the octagon and call it a day. But the thing is, a couple of years ago, man, I mean, Masvidal at this number against Burns, like, I think Masvidal would put a whooping on Burns a few years ago. Now, it's just that, like, when you look at Masvidal's prime, how did he used to lose all these fights? It'd be controversial split decisions where he'd come out hard that first round, and then he'd coast for the remainder of the fight. Like, you remember the Iaquinta fight? First fight, I mean, he's making him look like he doesn't even belong in there with them. He's throwing him around all over the place. And then second and third round, just kind of takes his foot off the gas and cries robbery. And, like, we've seen that over and over. And then here, now that, Jorge's closer to 40 than he is to 30, the reflexes are slowing down a little bit. The urgency has never quite been there. So I think the early going is where Jorge really needs to make Gilbert feel his presence in there. It's just that the longer the fight goes on, even if Jorge wins the first round, I think that, he's going to try to start coasting. That's where Gilbert can maybe land a takedown. Jorge's got good ass takedown defense, man. Like, don't let the Colby and the Kamaru fights fool you, because even in those fights, he was able to get back up. And Gilbert is nowhere near the wrestler of Kamaru and Colby. Now, Gilbert's got way better jiu-jitsu than both of them, but wrestling-wise, it's not even close. So, yeah, this is tough, because when these guys are at that point, when they're washed, things that would have never happened in the past start happening, right? Like, would you be surprised if Gilbert Burns dropped Jorge Masvidal? Would you be surprised if Gilbert Burns took him down, took his back, and choked him out? Like, basically what I'm saying is that, is Jorge, like, let's take the last two matches aside, is he still, a guy that can compete at the highest level? And I'm just thinking that he made his money. He made his mark on this sport. My boys had how many, like, over 50 fights that we know of, that we know of, right? You did it, bro. There's nothing left to do. Like, we're talking title shots. Like, come on, bro. Not that I think Gilbert's going to get a title shot. Y'all know who I think is the number one contender in that division. It's Bilal Muhammad. But don't get me wrong. I know Shafkat's a problem too. I know there's some other guys in there, but yeah, I don't think Gilbert or Jorge are a threat to the title. I'm going to pick Gilbert to win this fight. I'm just not interested at this price. So if you want to go out there and take that 1 unit shot on Jorge just to find out, because historically speaking, I actually do think this is a fight he can win. I'm just worried about that current form. Like, I saw a significant step down in just kind of like the fire and the intensity that he used to have compared to the old days. So for that reason, I got to go Gilbert Dorino. Not sure how it's going to happen. Think there's a chance it could be closer, but also think there's a chance he could get blown out the water. But let's see. I love me some Jorge Masvidal, so it would be cool to see him go out on a win. I'm just not counting on it. So I'll go with Gilbert. Now, next up in the featured bout in the bantamweight division, this is exciting. We got Rob Font, or as we like to refer to in Brazil, we got Hobby Fonch. He's 19-6, taking on Adrian Yanez, who's 16-3. Currently, they got it. It just depends where you look. I see everywhere from minus 175 to minus 185 on Adrian Yanez. And listen, here's the thing with this fight. So Rob Font, just in terms of offensively speaking, it's beautiful. Offensively speaking, this guy does everything I like. I mean, like, when you talk about some numbers, man, let's talk about some numbers. Y'all know I love to talk about my numbers. Like, listen to this shit. Last 3 fights for Robbie Font, right? For Hobby Fonch. 271 significant strikes landed against Marlon. 149 significant strikes landed against Jose. 176 strikes landed against Cody Garbrandt. So, like, shit. I mean, volume-wise, you're there, kid. Volume-wise, jab-wise, experience-wise, takedown-wise, he's landed some takedowns here and there, but that's not really what he's known for, man. He's known for his boxing for MMA. He's the bantamweight Calvin Kattar, man. And I know why a lot of people are taking Font in this spot. They saw Adrian Yanez go up there against Randy Costa get lit up for a little bit of the first round. They saw him eat some shots against Grant. They saw him eat some shots against Kelly. But like, oh yeah, and this is a big step up in competition. He's never fought anybody like this, right? But the thing you got to understand about, we'll talk, don't get me wrong, we're going to talk about Randy Costa lighting him up. We're going to talk about Davey Grant. We're going to talk about Tony Kelly. But before I do that, I want to address the he's never fought anybody like this talk. Guys, like every champion was once a contender, and every contender was once a prospect, and every prospect was once a regional fighter. So what I'm trying to say is that just because he's never fought anybody like this does not mean that he cannot rise to the occasion. Had Jamal Hill ever fought anybody like Glover Teixeira? No, he rose to the occasion. Had Bilal Muhammad fought anyone like Luque? Yes, Luque knocked him out many years prior. He rose to the occasion. Guys can rise just because you haven't fought somebody of this caliber, or just because somebody of this caliber has beat you in the past, does not mean that you can't rise to the occasion. Like that's the thing that I think, some of y'all need to get through your stubborn fucking heads, man. That like, just because like people are like, oh, Tony Kelly and Randy Costa, they're nowhere near the level of Rob Font. It's like, yeah, no shit. No, no one's fucking saying that those guys that are probably not going to be in the UFC this time next year are on the same level as Robbie Font or Hobby Font. No one's saying that, bro. No one's saying that at all. What I'm saying is that why can't Adrian Yanez rise to the occasion? That's what I'm saying. Now let's talk about why I think he does rise to the occasion. So, Robbie Font, and I know a lot of people are getting ready for me to reference how he got dropped 3 times by Marlon Vera, how he got dropped twice by Jose Aldo. And you're right, I will talk about that. But before I talk about that, I want to talk about how that's not just like some random occurrence. And that's not just some, oh, wow, what happened to Rob Font? Like, if y'all have been watching Rob Font's entire career, like I've been watching his entire career, then you were around when John Lineker hit him so hard that Rob Font pulled guard. Y'all were around when Rob Font was absolutely tagging up Pedro Munoz. Pedro Munoz hits him one time, and Robbie Font, the boxer, shoots for a takedown against one of the most dangerous guillotine artists in the bantamweight division. So I don't need to talk about the Chito and the Jose fights, which I will soon, but I don't need to talk about them because I've seen this stuff go down back in the day against Lineker, against Munoz. So what I'm trying to say is that Robbie Font can give it 100%. But when it comes, when someone really stands up to Robbie Font, when someone gives it back, it's not that Rob Font's not a tough guy, because he's a super tough guy. Because in those last 2 fights against Aldo and Chito, he could have covered up and let the ref, come in here, intervene, and none of us would have held it against him. But the fact that, despite his face falling off and all this shit, he hung in there. So like, Rob Font, hey, you're a tough ass dude. Like, I got to give you a lot of credit. It's just that when we take away how tough he is mentally, I want to know how tough he is in terms of durability. I want to know how that chin is. I want to know how that temple is. I want to know also, this is another talking point, I want to know how these weight cuts are getting. My boy Rob Font, how old are you now, bro? 35, 36? Like, one thing I heard Chito Vera say in their pre-fight interview, because y'all remember Rob Font missed weight for the Chito Vera fight, right? And one thing that Chito Vera said that I found was interesting was like this guy's a featherweight trying to make bantamweight. Like, he's not even a bantamweight, he's a featherweight. So I think the guy cuts a shit ton of weight. You see the size of Rob Font? Like, god damn, that's a big boy for bantamweight. It's got to be one of the bigger bantamweights on the roster, man. He cuts a ridiculous amount of weight. And as you know, it's one thing to be 32. It's one thing to be 28. It's one thing to be 33. But when you're getting there at 35, 36, you're closer to 40 than you are to 30. That's when those weight cuts start to take their toll. And now we're starting to see, certain things catch up to him. Like in that Lineker fight, when he got hurt there, he pulled guard. We didn't really see him wobbling all over the place. The Pedro Munoz fight, a little wobble, a desperate shot. Okay. but the kind of wobbles we saw against Jose, and then he only waited like 5 months to come back, which, back to the Izzy talk, Izzy's only waited like 5-6 months to come back to like, are they taking the right amount of time off? Now it's been close to a year. So has he been able to heal up his chin? Because officially it says that, it's only been 5 knockdowns, the Marlon 3 times, the Jose twice. And guys, that's not to discount how hard of a hitter Jose Aldo is, how good his boxing is. That's not to discount that Marlon Chito Vera hit him with some fucking sweet chin music, sidekick to the face. Like, that shit's going to rock somebody. It's just that we can't, overlook what kind of damage that's done, not only physically, but psychologically. How do you come back knowing that, you're still cutting this ridiculous amount of weight? You got a ridiculous counter striker in front of you in Adrian Yanez, who is going to crack that chin. How are you going to react to that? And I think a big difference in their game is obviously the volume goes to Font, better level of competition, all that. Like, yeah, it's understood. But Adrian Yanez has a very specific skill set, and they're both boxers for MMA. The difference is Font's more on the volume side, Adrian's more on the sharp counters and the power side. So yeah, I can see Rob Font, at the end of this fight, when you look at the numbers, I can see Rob Font having higher numbers than Adrian Yanez in terms of strikes landed. It's just that when it's Adrian's turn to land his shots, I mean, I do think that Rob's going to be wobbling all over the place. I do think Rob's going to get dropped. I do think that it's going to be noticeable, the impact of these shots compared to the volume of Font. Now, let's go back, because I promised you all I was going to talk about the Randy Costa fight and all that. And I'd be remiss not to mention that, right? I'm not going to just give one-sided analysis. So Randy Costa fight, let's talk about that, because there's some big misconceptions surrounding that fight. People saying that, Randy Costa's a bum and this and that. Like, guys, let's backtrack a little bit, okay? What was the deal with Randy Costa going into the Adrian Yanez fight? The deal with Randy Costa going into the Adrian Yanez fight, what we all understood Randy Costa as, was a guy that, hey, those first 5 minutes, this motherfucker is hell on wheels. But if you can get him to that second round, if you can extend this kid, that's where you can take him to those deep waters and drown him. So Randy Costa, coming off 2 first-round knockout wins over Boston Salmon and Journey Newsom, gets in there with Adrian Yanez, and he did what Randy Costa does, went right after him. I mean, another thing about him, Randy Costa is a long bantamweight. Even is taller than Rob Font, has a longer reach than Rob Font. And this is back when Randy Costa had confidence. This is back when Randy Costa was willing to kill or be killed. One thing you guys got to take note of is this. Adrian Yanez, he took the shots. I mean, look, did it look pretty? No, it didn't. But he ate the shots. He wasn't wobbling all over the place like his opponent, Rob Font. And when it was his turn to land his shots on Randy Costa, I mean, the body work. Once he started establishing his jab, I mean, like, he broke Randy Costa in a way where he didn't just break him in that fight, guys. He took Randy Costa's soul, because y'all remember, like I said, the theme of Randy Costa fights going into the Yanez fight was, hey, Randy Costa's hell on wheels for 5 minutes. But if you can get past that, you can take this guy to deep waters and drown him. Okay, well, let's look at Randy Costa's next 2 fights after Yanez. The Tony Kelly fight, there wasn't even that early storm from Randy Costa. He just got walked through. The Guido Canetti fight, it was Guido putting the early storm on Randy Costa. So what I'm trying to say here is Adrian Yanez took Randy Costa's soul. So let's not discredit that win just because, Randy, who at the time was brimming with confidence, was coming off 2 first-round knockouts, was known to be, these first 5 minutes are going to be hell on wheels. I'm not holding that against Yanez. Yanez took it and then he gave it. You know what I'm saying? And Randy Costa was never, ever the same again. So what I think is going to happen is, listen, and I heard the interviews, Rob talking about how he wants to take him down and submit him. Like, yeah, okay, bro. Like, talk is cheap. I don't buy that. Rob is not that kind of guy. Rob Rob fights like a man. Rob is going to come out here, establish that jab, try to get off on that volume. And for his sake, hopefully he doesn't get clipped in a way that compromises him. Now, when you go back and you watch Adrian Yanez's entire career and you see the kinds of guys that have been able to beat him, only one guy has whooped his ass. I mean, if you go back, you have to go all the way back to 2014 when Levi Moles beat Adrian Yanez. And Levi Moles, this was Adrian Yanez's second pro fight. That's the only guy that's ever truly beat Adrian Yanez's ass. Like, he took him down, was ground and pounding him, was doing all these things. Like, he whooped Adrian Yanez. But that's the only loss that he truly lost. Because the Domingo Pilarte fight, I mean, Domingo fought Adrian like a you-know-what. I mean, the ref was literally warning Domingo for running away the entire fight. And the crowd was booing when they gave Domingo that split decision. Like, that was some bullshit. And then the fight against Miles Johns, Miles Johns, acted like Adrian Yanez's crotch was his pillow. He hugged him for dear life. And listen, it's the fighter's responsibility to escape those positions. But I'm just saying, the guys that beat Adrian Yanez, at least historically speaking, they fight him like the style that you hate watching. I don't know if Rob Font's capable of fighting boring. I don't know if Rob Font's capable of making the crowd boo. Like, Rob Font, live by the sword, die by the sword. And I think he's dying by the sword Saturday night. I think that, again, he's going to get off on his jabs. He's going to get off on some volume. But when it's time for Adrian to find his timing, get off on a nice left hook counter, whatever the case might be, start cutting his angles, I think he's got something for Rob Font. I think he gets the biggest win of his career. I think we start talking about him as a top prospect, rising contender, whatever you want to call it. And this is going to be the biggest win of his career as far as I'm concerned. So I know that there's a lot of opinion on Rob Font, but I'm not on that. I'm on Yanez here, man. I mean, you're talking about two boxers and one with heavily diminishing durability, man. And you can tell me sidekick to the face all you want, but I already gave you examples from back in the day where it's like, Rob, he can give it, but can he take it too? Can he take it too? He's tough as fuck mentally. Like, he's not going to look for a way out. It's just, I don't know how he reacts to these shots anymore. And I just can't watch those last two fights and just ignore them. Just put them on the back burner. Oh, it was just Cheeto and Aldo. So let's just act like, it's not a big deal. Yo, Adrian Yanez hits very hard. Adrian Yanez can box for MMA. And I think Adrian Yanez is going to damage Rob Font. So for that reason, I'm picking him to win this fight. And I'm considering putting a little something on him. So let's see. Let's see where the line goes. Next up in the welterweight division, we got a matchup between Kevin Holland, he's 23-9, taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio, who is 29-6. Currently, they got it. Again, it just depends where you look, because there's been a lot of two-way action on this fight. But that being said, currently they got it. Kevin Holland everywhere from minus 250 to minus 290. And the comeback on Santiago Genchiboa Ponzinibbio, the Argentine dagger, is everywhere from plus 200 to plus 215. So this is such an interesting fight, right? Like, because Kevin Holland, man, he's got such athletic gifts, man. I mean, he's got the 9-inch reach advantage here. He's got the height advantage. He's got the youth advantage. He's got the physical specimen advantages. He's definitely more athletically superior than Santiago. I mean, if you put them together and see who has a higher vertical jump, my money's on Kevin Holland here. And Kevin Holland can absolutely come out here and starch Ponzinibbio. I mean, that straight right of Kevin Holland is nasty, especially at 70s. At 70s, his power has been translating big time. It's just that Kevin Holland, toughness wise, like just heart wise, doesn't even compare to Santiago. Like, if this is a battle of will, like if Santiago can get me past this early going, not be so badly compromised, because I know Santiago gets wobbled or dropped every single fight, especially now. Like, we know he hasn't looked the same since he came back. But man, if Santiago can somehow get past the length of Kevin Holland, get past this early going, and like really make it this gritty dogfight. I mean, if it comes down to a battle of wills, if it comes down to who's got a bigger heart, I mean, I got Santiago in that fight. It's just the issue is like, so with Santiago, and firstly, we talk about the length. Santiago's beaten a 6'3" guy before. He beat Sean Strickland. Granted, it was a long ass time ago, but just saying, he's got experience beating taller guys. So this won't be his first look, going up against a 6'3", 6'4" guy with volume and this and that. He's done it. He's passed it. He's passed that test before, even though he even got dropped in that fight too. So my thing is like, how hurt, how compromised is Pons going to be in the early going? Like, is Kevin just going to come out here and just beat him off your athletic gifts and this and that? Or like, because again, if it comes down to a fighter's heart, if it comes down to, like Santiago's still talking about the belt. Kevin's talking about just putting money in the bank and smoking weed, right? Like Kevin retired 2 fights ago. Kevin was on the wrong side of one of the worst ass whoopings I've ever seen his very last fight. And another thing about that, so I thought Kevin broke his hand in that Wonder Boy fight, which was in December. It's only April now. It's only been a few months. So did he really break his hand, or is this guy just like an enigma where like his hand just repaired that quick? Because I'm under the impression that when that Wonder Boy fight wasn't going as easy as he thought it was, he's not the kind of just take a knee and let you tee off and let the ref intervene. He's more of the kind of just kind of like stop fighting and let you whoop his ass. And I've seen that in the Vettori fight and the Brunson fight. And you can be like, yeah, well, his wrestling sucks, but it's like he accepted defeat in those fights. But he tries to mask him accepting defeat by being funny. By, I'm going to talk to Khabib in the middle of my fight. And you looked at Khabib's face. Khabib's like, bro, like, focus on your fight, man. Stop trying to be a fucking comedian. But it's just like the way that Kevin checks out of fights is different than the way other fighters check out of fights. Like when we talk about that fixed fight between Derek Minner and Shah Yilan here in a little bit, like, yeah, Derek Minner took one shot, covers up, lets the ref intervene. Whereas Kevin he wants to disguise the fact that he's breaking mentally by being funny, by talking, by slapping you in the ear, by telling Wonder Boy, hey, don't kick me so hard, haha, in hopes that he actually doesn't kick him so hard. So he's a gamesman for sure. I just think that he's the kind of guy that when things aren't going his way, he accepts defeat. And to lay a number like minus 250 to minus 300 on him when he can't be trusted whatsoever. I remember laying the chalk on him against Darren Stewart, a dude that washed out of the UFC super quick. That shit was a split decision. Holland made me sweat. Like Holland, like, dude, like what the fuck? Like that third round, Holland was breaking again in that third round, man. So it's like, I don't trust this guy at all. It's just that his physical attributes and his length mixed in with the fact that Ponzinibbio gets hit hard every single fight, Kevin might be able to sneak past this one. But I'm telling you, man, if Pons can get me through this early going and make this a real fight, make this a dog fight, make this about biting down on your mouthpiece, who wants it more? I can tell you Pons wants it more than Kevin Holland with a straight face. It's just the physical attributes, the youth, all that. But like, let me say this. So Pons, because I don't know if y'all remember his run before he almost died, right? Like his run before he almost died, y'all should see what he did in Neil Magny. Y'all should see what he did to some of these guys. Beat Sean Strickland, like beat some real guys, right? But since he came back, the Li Jingliang fight, because the dude almost died, right? The Li Jingliang fight got knocked the fuck out. The Baeza fight, he pulled it out. He still got that heart, but it was an ugly fight. The Jeff Neal and the Pereira fight. Now, while I personally thought that Pons lost both those fights, to his credit, he's still going to a split decision with very tough competition in Jeff Neal and Michel Pereira, right? And then the next fight against Morano. So let's talk about the fight with Morano and Pons, because there is a misconception about that fight. The misconception is that Pons was looking like shit the whole fight, and then he got this lucky knockout in round 3, and that's not what happened at all, man. Pons was fighting a really good fight. Now before you start commenting, let me finish my thought. Pons was fighting a really good fight. Pons was jabbing to the body because, Moreno took the fight on short notice. So like a couple days short notice, they had to make it a catchweight. So Pons was doing the right things, going to the body, kind of try to diminish the gas tank from Moreno. Pons was chopping down those calf kicks, and he was looking for his eventual opening to throw that patented straight right upstairs, which he eventually did. But here's what would happen. Pons would be getting off on those jabs to the body. He'd be getting off on those calf kicks. I had a bet on Pons in that fight. I'd be like, yes, Santiago. Like, he's looking beautiful. And then, like, I think first round gets caught with a spinning back fist, goes down. It's like, fuck. Everything we just did that was looking so good goes out the window because Moreno just got that big moment, right? Next round comes around. More of the same, man. More of the fucking same. Pons beautifully lighting up that body with the jab, going to the calf kicks, finding a couple openings upstairs. I'm like, yes, Santiago. Gets caught again, goes down. I'm like, oh my God. Now, granted, he gets right back up. It's just like, to the judges, they will favor knockdowns over anything that you've done before that, right? So those knockdowns overrode any kind of success that Pons was having early in that fight. Third round comes around, more of the same. We're going to the body. We're fucking chopping his calves down. And then Alex clips him right behind the ear. And I mean, we saw a stumble back from Ponzinibbio, and I was like, oh my God, Santiago. But man, Santiago's persistent. And while he's still fresh, while he's still conscious, rather, he's coming after you, man. And he went right after Moreno, and eventually everything paid off. The dividends of, investing early with those body shots, investing early with those calf kicks. Eventually, he was able to find that right hand that he'd been looking for the whole fight, and he got him out of there. So strategically speaking, I loved what I saw from Ponzinibbio in the Moreno fight. It's just back to he gets rocked every fight. The durability isn't what it once was. Not that it ever was like, who's someone with a granite chin that you hit with a baseball bat and they keep walking forward. He was never one of those guys. He was always the guy that would like get wobbled early, get dropped early, but he just got this persistence, this will to win. That he's Argentinian, man. I told you many times, Argentines are some of the most stubborn people on planet Earth. If you ever dated an Argentine woman, you know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Good luck winning that argument. So, Santiago, he was like, fuck it, man. Like, I don't care how many times you wobbled me. I don't care how many times you dropped me. I'm going to go after you, and I'm going to accomplish my goal. And that's what he did. So I was happy to see that. It's just here, Kevin Holland's power translates at 170. You saw he hit Alex Cowboy one time, sent him turtled up. He hit Tim Means, and Tim Means known for his striking, shooting takedowns right into a Darce choke against Kevin Holland. So even that first round against Wonder Boy, now there's some misconceptions about that Wonder Boy. I heard people talking about how, if that was a 3-round fight, Kevin would have won. Cut, Jonah Hill, cut. Like, don't even try me on that bullshit. So, first round, Wonder Boy's getting off on some nasty straight lefts, and you can see right in the eyes of Kevin Holland, like, fuck, I didn't know he was gonna be so fast. But, Holland did land a nice straight right on Wonder Boy, so maybe took back the first round that way. But second round comes around, Wonder Boy starting to get off on more straight left, starting to tag him up a little bit, starting to make the output wane on the Holland side. By the time the third round comes around, that's when he saw fucking Wonder Boy coming out here with spinning heel kicks to the dome and doing all these crazy things, man. And just put on the performance of the year as far as I was concerned. And Kevin said no mas, man. He complained about a broken hand. Well, if your hand was broken, how come you're fighting a couple months later. Now, don't get me wrong, some dudes can heal way faster than others. That's just from my experience. I know dudes that they break their hands and a year and a half later, their hand is still having issues, right? So I don't know. I mean, I see why Kevin's favored, of course, because the youth, the length. Santiago gets wobbled every fight. So yeah, of course, there's potential for Kevin Holland to come out here and stop Pons early. There's absolutely that potential. That could for sure happen. But if that does not happen and this becomes a real fight, a dog fight where these guys have to bite down on that mouthpiece, go tooth and nail. Let's see who the tougher guy is. Let's see who got the bigger balls. I got Santiago in that fight, man. So it's hard to be confident because I know the dangers. I know Pons gets rocked every fight. I know that Kevin's super dangerous, especially early while he's fresh. He's got insane athletic gifts that you just can't match. Pons, get me past this early going, bro. And I think you can break this guy. I think you're infinitely tougher than this guy. I think you still want to fight for the belt. This guy retired already and he wants to fucking he just wants to stack up paychecks. Yeah. Tell this dude to shut his dumb ass up. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go Pons. I mean, listen, I understand the early threat, and I know that Pons might get knocked out here, but get me into these deep waters, and then let's see what's up. So yeah. All right. Now, next up in the bantamweight division, we got a match between Raul Rosas Jr. He's 7-0, taking on Christian Rodriguez, who is 8-1. Currently, they got it. Shit. Raul Rosas minus 275. The comeback on Christian Rodriguez is plus 220. So yeah, my whole thing with this fight is this. I don't know if y'all remember Raul Rosas' last fight against Jay Perrin. People were like running to the window to bet Jay Perrin, who literally might be the worst fighter in the history of the sport. Like, I remember tweeting the night before that fight, like, Jay Perrin is acting like a guy who's getting ready to pull one of the biggest stunts in the history of the sport. And that's exactly what he did, man. I mean, like, you hear how he was talking in his media day, like when the media members asked about, like, what kind of potential do you think this kid has? And Jay Perrin just wants to discredit him and do all these things. Like, dude, like, Jay Perrin's a complete joke. So one of my biggest regrets is, so I bet Raul Rosas minus 230 against Jay Perrin. I had zero issues laying a chalk price like that against Jay Perrin. One of my biggest regrets is, like, if I could go back in time and, like, get the chance to fade Jay Perrin in the UFC again, like, I'd be taking out 6-figure loans, bro. Like, I'd be going all out, because, man, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity we're never going to get again. So, and I mean, honestly, I know this might sound arrogant and this might sound crazy, and I actually don't even like talking in these terms because it might not even be the best look for me to say this, but, like, I think that if me and Jay Perrin put on the gi, I straight up think I'd tap out Jay Perrin. So that's just kind of like the level I think that he's on, that he's just not there. Whereas, like, Christian Rodriguez is not a fucking joke. Like, we're going from Jay Perrin, who's like the biggest fucking jobber we've ever seen in all our years watching the sport, to Christian's like a legit prospect, bro. Like, Christian's solid everywhere, man. Good volume on the feet, gets back up from takedowns, can escape bad positions on the mat. He's got nasty submissions of his own, trains with good people. Like, and I heard his interviews today. So when I heard the Jay Perrin interviews, and Jay Perrin's just, talking down all of what Raul Rosas does. You're not even gonna get a single takedown on me. Like, all this shit out here, none of that matters when you're in the cage with me. I'm gonna break your fucking jaw and all. It's like, bro, like, the kid's 8. You're beefing with an 18-year-old. You fucking loser, bro. Okay, I'm not gonna start this because it looks like, a UFC podcaster is challenging a former UFC fighter to a grappling match, but, like, straight up, if Jay Perrin wants to put on the gi with me, like, and come to my gym, Team Octopus, like, I think I can tap him out. But that doesn't matter here. Christian Rodriguez is a different story, bro. Christian Rodriguez, I mean, like, I like everything about him, man. And also back to the interview talk, right? Like, so remember when I talked about how they asked Jay Perrin what he thought of Rosas, and he was just, sounded insecure, was diminishing his accomplishments, was, downplaying his potential, was just being an idiot. Whereas when they asked Christian Rodriguez about Raul Rosas, Christian was like, yeah, it's important to have that kind of belief. It's important to, the kid's a legit like Christian handled this shit fucking well, man. Like, so to me, I like everything about Christian Rodriguez. So again, like, this is not Jay Perrin, is what you need to understand. Now back to Raul Rosas, very, very talented, very, very, very talented guy. And for his age, the maturity I see at his age at 18 years old, where I know guys that were once the 18-year-old phenom and now they're almost 25 and they haven't panned out yet. I know guys that have made it through their whole entire careers, got an opportunity after opportunity. Um, and they still haven't gotten their shot. Whereas this kid, like, shows maturity for 18 years old. And I loved that one entry he had. He went a flying knee to a double leg on his Contender Series. Like, that kind of shit is innovative. That kind of shit is slick. He's got that youthful energy about him. Now, Dan Goldstein brings up a good point. I don't like that C-Rod's been taken down 10 times though in 3 fights. True, but what you got to take into consideration is this. Yeah, will C-Rod get taken down? Sure. But C-Rod, it's not like Jay Perrin where you take him down one time and the fight's over shortly after, right? C-Rod, firstly, he's got Mexican roots. This guy is going to fight back. This guy is going to be there. This guy is going to survive bad positions. So that's what makes it an intriguing fight for me, because I do think Raul Rosas is ultra talented. I just think that Christian Rodriguez is no slouch at all. So yeah, while I lean, Raul, I think I lean Raul, because maybe he's got a little bit more star potential. I don't know. It's still too early to say. But I just don't think it's going to be a walk in the park. And people bringing up Weems took him down twice. Yeah, he took him down, but the dude fucking got right back up right away. And then the other time, fucking transitioned to, I forgot if it was an anaconda or a darce. I mean, like, bro, like, Weems, like, I think also you got to take into consideration when you're fighting a dude that's got a blue ponytail, like, you probably think it's this big joke. Like I know, like, you think he would have been allowed to go back to see his homies losing to a guy with a blue ponytail? I don't think so, man. So he thought he was just gonna get him out of there. I don't think he respected him. Yeah, he got taken down. He got right back up, and then the other time he got taken down, transition to a beautiful front headlock series. I forgot if it was a Darce or Anaconda, even though I literally just watched it. So yeah, I mean, I think that Christian is super tough, man. Like, everywhere, man. So the thing about this is, like, on the feet, from what I've seen, because you got to take into consideration, like, with an 18-year-old, you're going to be seeing big leaps every single time he fights. So you might even see a brand new man. But Christian ain't exactly, some old vet either, man. I mean, he's also a guy that's growing every single fight. Now, he actually went back to Rufus Sport for this camp instead of Fight Ready. And to a lot of people, that's a red flag. But I don't think it is in this situation, because word on the street is that, firstly, you guys got to understand, this is the first fight on the pay-per-view card. So this is not like at Rufus Sport, maybe if some guys on the lower undercard and no one get, maybe then the coaches won't show up or put as much, effort into it or whatever. But, like, when your guy from Rufus Sport is fighting on the main card against the most hype prospect at bantamweight right now, like, bro, like, he is getting the right looks. I can guarantee you that. So I'm not too worried about the camp switch, or whether it's camp switch or going back to your old camp, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. So Benjamin says minus 130 versus Perrin, also minus 130 versus Blue Ponytail. Now, I think Blue Ponytail is much tougher. I literally think Jay Perrin might like yeah, Mike Jackson's worse because Mike Jackson's not even a fighter, and like at least like Jay Perrin went the distance with Mario Bautista. I don't know how. I mean, Mario put an absolute clinic on him, but like, but I was just saying, put us together in the gi. That's all I said. I don't want to throw hands. Just put me in the gi with him. Let's see what happens. But stop getting me off track. But back to this. I just see it being a spirited Latina and just Mexican war where these guys are getting after it. Insane scrambles. We're gonna get to learn a lot about both these guys. So I don't want to have a bet. I'll lean Raul, but like I respect Christian Rodriguez so much and so much more than Jay Perrin that like you can't bet Jay Perrin and then run to the window and fucking, you know, lay minus 275 on Rosas, unless you really think he's just going to come out here and choke him out early, which I don't see. I think it's going to be a 3-round scrap. I think it's going to be a Latino war. And let's see who emerges on top. I cannot wait for it, man. So, yeah, I lean Rosas, but Christian is a guy I got a ton of respect for. This is not Jay Perrin. This is a real fight. And let's see who the better man is. To the victor goes the spoils, man, because like these kind of kids, you're going to be seeing the best version of them every single time. So this is a real fight. And I cannot wait. So let's get it. Now, next up, we got the featured prelim between Kelvin Gastelum, who's 17-8, taking on Chris Curtis, who's 30-9. Currently, they got it. Kelvin Gastelum minus 120. The comeback on Chris Curtis is plus 115. So I got to give a big shout out to everybody that came in and gobbled up those dog odds on Kelvin earlier in the week, and they've completely flipped the line. So you guys did your job. If you guys want to put a little bit on Curtis to guarantee yourself a profit, I understand that. But if you just want to ride it out knowing that you beat the line movement by a ridiculous amount and you do that long term, you will be on the right side of the coin. So congrats to y'all. Basically, so pre-tape, I kind of felt like, Kelvin, he's lost 5 of 6, isn't in his best form. Curtis has been getting some nice upsets here. Like maybe Curtis is live here. But when I watch it, man, so here's the thing about Curtis. He's got very sharp hands. I just wish that, what's up, man? I just wish that he'd let his hands go more, man. Like if he had the volume requirement, and people can talk about this, Rodolfo Vieira fight where he actually showed that he could land, 100 significant strikes in a 3-round fight. The issue with that is there was nothing coming back at him. Rodolfo was just shooting shot after shot. So that was easy target practice. I do not see Chris Curtis landing over 100 significant strikes on Kelvin here. I think there's a different matchup. And the thing with Chris, his takedown defense in the UFC has been phenomenal, which is interesting because it's like a far cry from what it was on World Series of Fighting, where he was getting taken down easily. He was being grinded out. So even though he stuffed a shit ton of takedowns in the UFC and he's been doing his thing, there's like, I don't know why I just have the old image of Chris Curtis in my head. Like I remember when he fought Bilal on the regional scene, Bilal easily grinded him out, and Chris Curtis threw his little pity party, the same one he threw after the Jack Hermanson fight. But Chris, look, he's got pop on his punches. He's a very dangerous counter striker. It's just the volume isn't quite there like it needs to be. And I think the volume will be there with Kelvin Gastelum. And the thing is, even though, bro, tell this guy, tell this guy if he wants to come in the chat and talk to me about this, that's fine. But don't even try me on this. But wait till I'm done with these breakdowns. But here's the link. If you wanna have this debate with me, I'm willing to have it. But let me finish my breakdowns. You said to call Jay Perrin the worst UFC fighter is not smart. I didn't. I said Mike Jackson's the worst UFC fighter, but Jay Perrin's top 10 for sure. But hey, join the stream after I'm done with the breakdown. Let's have this debate. Fuck it. Why not, man? because I am down to have that discussion with you, and I will win that discussion. Show your face, bro. But yeah. So back to Curtis and Gastelum. Like initially, like I was thinking that Kelvin, he's not looking as good as he once has. But then I was also thinking that like you know he's been fighting the best guys in the world. But the issue is like he lost to a low volume guy in Darren Till. Now, can we make an exception for him in the sole sense that, well, Kelvin was coming off the Izzy fight prior to Darren Till. And that sometimes when they come off that title fight loss, their next fight is a little bit more uninspired. So I think that there's a high probability that that's what it was in the Darren Till fight. I don't want to take away from Darren Till's win. Only reason I have to bring that up is just transparency. I mean, Chris Curtis, low volume striker. Darren Till, low volume striker. Low volume striker has beat Kelvin Gastelum before. Why are you barking at me, bro? Are you telling me the underdog's life here? This guy's barking at me now in the middle of my show. Come on, dog. You're being more annoying than that one guy who said Jay Perrin's a future world champion. Come on, dog. But listen, at the end of the day, I just really think that the more I look into it, as long as Kelvin, can still take it because he's got ridiculous durability, and as long as he's fired up for this one, because sometimes he can be hit or miss and this and that. If his volume's on point, man, then I think he's got what it takes to come out here and win a hard fought decision against a seasoned vet in Curtis. So I see the argument for both. You want to fade Kelvin's current form, I get that, but if you can y'all believe this guy? I love you too, Leo. But like the only thing is, well, you need Curtis to really go after it. You need Curtis to really make these counter shots these counter shots count. That's what needs to make happen. But I think the volume is going to be controlled by Kelvin, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kelvin also was able to land the first takedown against Curtis in UFC. Not in his career, because he used to get taken down all the time. It's crazy how he's shored that up. But I think this is one Kelvin can get back on track on. Just slightly out, be ahead of him on the volume, on the volume and this and that. And I'll go Kelvin, but your dog just told that guy that's saying Perrin's a future world champion to shut the fuck up. Hey, good looking out, Leo. I appreciate you. Hey, the link's still here. So after I'm done with the breakdowns, come in here and have this debate with me. I'm down, dude. I got time. Not too much time, but a little bit of time. Now, my boy Dan said Leo's picks are positive ROI every time. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Leo, they're giving you compliments here, my boy. And also, let's just take a quick moment of silence for my girl Blondie, who I lost recently. Y'all know she was a big part, sitting on the couch and just showing a lot of love and just always being there. And I lost her about a week ago, so rest in peace, Blondie. But I'm very blessed. I do have, I got Leo with me. I got Oscar with me. Where you at, Oscar? Oscar's hold on. You know what I'm saying? My boy Oscar just chilling out. My boy said Leo rear naked chokes parent, bro. Among other things, right? And the funny thing is that Perrin is probably going to put his profile back on private after this. Like when he put his profile on private the night before the Raul fight, that's when he knew he was broken beyond belief. And yeah, my biggest life regret was not just laying the minus 230 straight on Raul, but not like taking out an 100K mortgage, 100K loan to do that, man, because we'll never get that opportunity again. But anyways, I'm a lean Gastelum. Not the most confident pick. And initially I wanted to go with Curtis. It's just the volume is so fucking low. So that's my issue. All right. Next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Michelle Waterson, Gomez. What's this Gomez talk about? She got a new man in her life, or what's the deal? She's 18-10, taking on Luana Pinheiro, who's 10-1. But between you and me, she's 9-2 because she quit against Randa Marcos. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. And currently they got it Luana Pinheiro, minus 165. The comeback on Michelle. Waterson is plus 135. Yo, y'all are fucking killing me right now, bro. Leo is the lock of the night versus Jay Perrin. Perrin has fragility issues. Leo would ankle pick his ass. Javad said he loves my breakdowns. Thank you so much, bro. I really appreciate that. All right, but back on track because I know I can have a lot of fun with y'all, man. And I'm so grateful that y'all are here, showing me support so many years into this, man. It means the world to me. And this is still fun. So let's keep going. So I mean, here's the thing, guys. Like I always talked about Michelle Waterson. She's got 3 things going for her. She's got a sidekick, she's got a head and arm throw, and she's got a fantastic physique. Besides that, you know, I mean, the occasional arm bar from guard, occasional rear naked choke, but like besides that, it's like her game hasn't truly evolved, very low volume, prone to being hurt, prone to being submitted. And the issue with Luana, she's just kind of young into her career, right? But she is very physical. She trains with the right people. I mean, her boyfriend is Mateus Nicolau, who I think is one of the best black belts in the flyweight division, and is a guy who could potentially fight for a title one day. So at least she's surrounded by the right people. My thing with Luana is, so she's physical. She's got nasty hip tosses, bro. Her hip tosses are absolutely disgusting, man. Like she hit 5 of them against Rando. She hit 2 of them against Sam Hughes. And the thing about Sam Hughes, and we're gonna talk about her in a little bit, right? Sam Hughes, like, might not be the most physically imposing, doesn't have the best takedown defense, but like she'll hang around. Like she's tough. She's gritty. She'll hang around, right? And if people are questioning the cardio of Pinheiro because she quit in that one fight, she pulled an aljo. I'm not sure if the cardio is really an issue, and let me tell you why. So in that last fight she had with Sam Hughes, she landed more strikes in round 3 than she did in round 1 or round 2. So there's that to look at, and then as far as the takedowns are concerned, she only got her takedowns the first 2 rounds. So rounds 2 and 3, she stood up with someone who was allegedly a better striker, and she even got a knockdown in that fight. So basically what I'm saying is I see progression. Yeah. Is there a capability of pulling a stunt? Yes. But even though the last time she pulled a stunt, she got the win. You know what I mean? Her and Aljamain Sterling are still competing for that Oscar. You know what I mean, man? So, yeah, listen, a few years ago, I would have considered maybe the shot on Michelle Waterson, but I think that, she's 1 foot out the door. Her style hasn't evolved at all. The upsides with Pinheiro. So I'm going to give it to her. Labriere says, Mr. Levy, so sorry for your loss. My prayers are for you and her. My boxer Scooby-Doo is family to me and like a son more than a dog. Yeah, man, they're the best. So I really appreciate the kind words, man, and all the support y'all showed me, man. It truly feels great to know so many people have my back. So thank you for that. Now, next up in the middleweight division, this is another tough one for me. We got Gerald Meerschaert. He's 35-15, taking on Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. He's 10-2. Currently, they got it. Joe Pyfer minus 200. The comeback on Gerald Meerschaert is plus 170. So here's my thing with this fight. Like, so I pride myself on my ability to scout prospects and scout good talent and give good projections of where guys are going to go. And y'all are going to be like, oh my God, he's about to bring up these guys again. Well, yeah, because they're like my best examples, like Jamal, Bilal, Cheeto. When they were all unranked, I said these guys were going to make it to the top 5 of their weight classes. I even said Jamal would be champ. That's true. And the reason I bring that up is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that I do take pride in scouting out my prospects, but that, Joe Pyfer didn't quite do it for me in terms of like, maybe I need to see more. Maybe his career needs to progress a little bit more, but I didn't get that future top 10 vibe. I didn't get that future top 5 vibe, but he's got a good thing going for him. He's in one of the shittiest weight classes in the entire sport, one of the shallowest. And what I mean by that is Marvin Vettori is a top 5 guy. Okay. Is there anything pretty about Marvin Vettori's game? Like, guys, like when you look at, let me pull up the rankings real quick. All right. And let me show you what I consider to be real top 5 guys, right? So check this out. Y'all know I love pulling up my rankings. So like, all right, let's look at top 5 in flyweight. Champ Brandon Moreno. Number 1, Davison. Number 2, Alexander Pantoja. Kai Kara France. Brandon Royval. Mateus Nicolau. Right? And then you're going to get Manel Cap in there. All right? That's what the top 5 there looks like. What does the top 5 at bantamweight look like? Top 5 at bantamweight. Aljo, Marab, O'Malley, Sanhagen, Jan, Vera. Okay. Okay. Y'all catching my drift? And you got guys like Umar who are not even in the top 10, right? Adrian Yanez not even in the top 10, right? All right. Now check this out. Featherweight. You got Volk, you got Yair, you got Holloway, you got Ortega, you got Arnold Allen, you got Emmett, you got Ilya Taporia, Sodiq Yusuf. Like, come on, bro. Okay. Lightweight. We got Islam, Charles, Dustin, Justin, Benil, Fazeev, Armin Sarukian, Mateusz Gamrot, like Drew Dober. Like, come on. All right. Welterweight, we got Leon, Kamaru, Colby, Hamzat, Bilal, Gilbert Durino, Shavkat, like Jack Della. Like, come on. All right. Now let's go to middleweight. So we got Alex and Izzy and Robert. Fantastic. Izzy, Alex, Robert. Hey, that's beautiful. But then there's like Marvin Vettori. That's a top 3 guy. Stop. I got Jared Cannonier over Marvin Vettori. I got Sean Strickland over Marvin Vettori. I mean, I thought Roman Dolidze beat Marvin Vettori. Like, so I just think like Marvin Vettori being a top, this and that in the weight class, being a top 3 guy in this weight class just shows how, it just shows how shallow middleweight is. Cause like look up a weight class at light heavyweight, at Jamal's weight class, right? So we look at Jamal's weight class. Let's see who we got here. Jamal's weight class. We got Jamal. We got Jiri. We got Magomed Ankalaev. We got Blachowicz. We got Rakic. We got Krylov. Like, do you understand what I'm saying here? Heavyweight. We got Jones. We got Gan. We got Miocic. We got Pavlovich. We got Blades. We got Aspinall. Like, God, we got Jailton Almeida. Like, what I'm trying to say is that middleweight is one of the weakest divisions. So while I don't think that Joe Pyfer, in any other weight class would be a top 10 or a top 15 guy, here at middleweight, it's just the shallowest weight class in the sport and the least talent stacked in the sport. Don't get me wrong. The top 3 guys, amazing. But besides that, it's kind of like, right. So, but back to Joe Pyfer. What I do like is he's a heavy hitter. He's got legit one-punch knockout power. I heard he's hard to take down. He's a physical guy. I like him. I just got questions, man. What happens when you go past the first round? I mean, I remember him going past the first round not too long ago against the bum 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 bum. You all remember that South Park reference? No, it was actually dum 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 dum, right? But yeah. So last time he went past the first round, like shit was ugly. Dude also lost to Dustin Stoltzfus, which granted was an injury, but still he's lost to 2 bums. And he's also very inexperienced. And Gerald Meerschaert, here's the thing with him. It's like, it doesn't look the prettiest. He's there to be hit. He gives up takedowns easily. But if you're not quite as battle tested, if you're not quite as seasoned, if you're not quite as experienced as a guy like Gerald Meerschaert, I mean, I'm not just talking about like, you know, Joe Gelati or fucking Oscar Pihota or something. I'm talking about Mahmoud Muradov. I'm talking about Bruno Blundado Silva. Like, those are legit ass wins. And Gerald made Bruno look so bad that it was like, God damn, like this dude just won the distance with Alex. Now, did Alex take, chip a little bit away um from Bruno going into that? Possibly. But like, if you would have never seen that fight, and I were to tell you that Gerald fought Bruno and Alex Pereira fought Bruno, only one of them dropped Bruno. Only one of them finished Bruno. What would your guess be? Your guess would 100% be that Alex Pereira left hook KO'd Bruno Blindado. Nope. It was Gerald Meerschaert dropping Bruno Blindado, choking him out, putting on one of his vet performances, man, just like he did to Mahmoud Muradov, man. And so here's my thing. Like, so back to the whole talk of like, I pride myself on scouting these prospects and like, feeling like, hey, these guys are going to go far. I haven't gotten there with Joe Pyfer yet, but I'm not discounting the possibility that I could be wrong. And I'm also, like I previously alluded to, this is a very shallow weight class. So it doesn't take an immense skill level to make it at the top of middleweight. So maybe Joe does it anyways. The thing is, like, if Joe isn't able to badly hurt Meerschaert, which Meerschaert's been hurt in a lot of fights, been finished plenty of times, but if he's not able to do that, I think the longer the fight progresses, that Gerald starts mixing that big body kick. His hands are deceptively powerful too, because they come from weird angles. If you can just tighten up his defense a little bit, take this guy to deep waters and let me see what's up. And then let's start getting the choke series the choke series going, and from there, you never know. So I think it's a dog or pass situation. I'll pick Gerald because, like, I really respect Dana and their ability to scout prospects and guys that they think have these high trajectories and these guys that they think are going to go really far in the sport. So I'm happy if I'm wrong on this. It's all good. I'm cool being wrong on this. It's just going into it, kind of trusting my gut. I'm not convinced Joe Pyfer is that guy. I think that Joe Pyfer on his first fight, his second fight on Contender Series, every single fight on that card sucked. So the fact that Joe Pyfer got a knockout, they're hyping him up, be Joe Pyfer. But it's like, had that been on a card where every single fight was exciting, I don't think the praise would have been nearly as much. And also, this ain't Alan Amedovski anymore. We were talking about Jay Perrin. Shit, actually, I think Alan Amedovski would beat Jay Perrin's ass, but my point is, Alan Amedovski is also kind of on the lower totem pole. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Gerald here. Contingent on a few things, but I'll go Gerald. Now, next up in the heavyweight division, we got a matchup between Karl Williams, who's 8-1, taking on Chase Sherman, who's 16-11. Currently, they got it. Karl Williams minus 410. The comeback on Chase Sherman plus 310. I mean, I think we understand the dynamic here. It's a short notice fight for Karl Williams, but he has a big edge in the wrestling. We've seen Chase Sherman get taken down multiple times, whether it was against Romanov, whether it was against Jay Collier. Doesn't respond the best. Also, big time gasser. People are talking about how Karl Williams was gassing his last fight. He was still hitting suplexes when he was gassed, whereas Chase Sherman has a history of after round one, he falls off a cliff badly. And shout out to my dog, Joe Sunsu, who talked about how, like, fading Chase Sherman is like one of the most profitable investments. And he even said something along the lines of, like, you'll get a better return than you would on Wall Street or some shit like that. So, like, yeah, the price sucks on Karl, so it's a pass for me. But, I'm going to pick ATL's own Karl Williams to come out here and expose this guy's wrestling. So let's see. Now, next up in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Cynthia Calvillo. She's 9-5, taking on Lupita Godinez, who is 8-3. Currently, they got it. Lupita Godinez minus 300. The comeback on Cynthia Calvillo is plus 250. So, yeah, this is interesting because it's like Cynthia Calvillo at one point. I don't know if y'all recall. I don't know if y'all recall her first few UFC fights where she was submitting everybody. Dana White was saying that this is his new Ronda Rousey. Cynthia Calvillo, she had that Carlos Condit scowl, like I don't know how to do it, but they do it better than me. Like she was out here fucking doing her thing for a while, and she won her main event against Jessica I, but ever since then just hasn't looked the same, man. She's about to turn 36, and it's not just about the age, and it's more so like, these last three fights, man. Like, okay, it's one thing to get stopped in the first round by Jessica Andrade, one of the hardest hitters. Okay, we'll give you a pass there, right? But Moy's very good point, and just give me a second. I'm going to address that because I'll address it. Just give me a sec. So the Andrea Lee quitting on the stool between rounds. Look, live to fight another day, of course. All I'm saying is that a few years ago, like you would have had to kill Cynthia Calvillo. She was that dog. She was that shark. And then the Nina Nunes fight seemed like two old ladies going out there, and Nina retired after the fight. So I just think that, Cynthia's kind of on her way out. And but I want to bring this up. So Moyes brought up, when I saw Calvillo transition from Anaconda to rear naked choke versus Amanda Bobby Brundage, I was blown away. Dude, yes, that is so beautiful. And that's one thing, like, all the ladies on my team, I've sent them all the clip of that video because I think that that's something that they can absolutely implement into their game, because you don't see transitions like that Anaconda to back take to rear naked choke. Like that shit was beautiful, man. So yeah, so for sure, I mean, that's what she was capable of back in her day. She was mean. Her transitions, you loved it. It's just I'm just not convinced that she's into it anymore, period. And Lupita Godinez, listen, she still has some growing pains to go through, had some tough fights, this and that. But like, stylistically speaking, I do think that she would throw the bigger bomb standing. It's just if she takes her down, which I hope she does because she's a wrestler, like, what are we expecting from Cynthia off her back? Are we expecting omoplatas? Are we expecting arm bars? Are we expecting, intercept the takedown with a guillotine, a darce, the anaconda to the back take, like we were just talking about, right? Like, what are we expecting here? But basically, I'm just expecting one fighter who is hungrier, who's not thinking about retirement, who's thinking about just patching up parts of her game, leveling up, taking it to the next level, versus someone who, I mean, she loses this fight, and Calvillo, that is, and it's over. So yeah, I mean, maybe a few years ago you take this line, but 2023, I'm good. And for that reason, my pick is Lupi Godinez. Just kind of out physical her a little bit. Okay. Now, next up in 160-pound catchweight, we got a matchup between Trey Ogden. He's 16-5. He's taking on Ignacio Bahamondes, who is 13-4, representing Chile. Currently, they got it. Ignacio minus 350. The comeback on Trey Ogden is plus 275. So full disclosure, I lost on Daniel Zellhuber against Trey Ogden. And, I think a lot of people understood that it wasn't really about what Trey did right, more about what Ignacio did wrong. Not Ignacio. The fuck's this dude's fucking name? Daniel Zellhuber. Yeah. He just pulled a debut stunt. I mean, it's not like Trey put up some amazing numbers. I mean, he had a little baby leg kicks, landed a takedown, dude popped right back up. It's just the output wasn't there for Zellhuber. Zellhuber's fighting next week. I'm giving him a second chance because I just thought it was a debut stunt. But Trey Ogden, you got to give him credit. He's a seasoned vet. He's been around the block. He's paid his dues. He's very analytical. If you hear his interviews, he's got the shit down to a science. He studies his opponents well. He went through a lot on that last weight cut because, he's supposed to fight Manuel Torres 2 weeks ago. But there was an issue. They weren't able to fight. And he had to make the cut to 55. But now 2 weeks later, they let him go up to 160, let him cut a little less weight. But basically, Trey is just a seasoned journeyman. He's just a tough, solid journeyman, man. Decent leg kicks, not the hardest. Decent punches, not the hardest. Opportunistic takedowns. He's got a nasty guillotine. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. It's just when punches start getting involved, I'm not sure what level his jiu-jitsu is on. And then with Ignacio, I think he's been a talent and a phenom this entire time, man. And people talking about, well, Trey's the wrestler here. How is Ignacio going to deal with the wrestling? Bro, Ignacio trains with Bilal Muhammad every day, who's a fucking not only a 10 times better wrestler than Trey, 10 times better fighter than Trey, 10 times just like, come on, bro, don't even compare the two. Like, one's a fight away from a title shot, one's a fight away from being cut from the UFC, right? So, yeah, I think Ignacio chops him down with the low kicks, starts getting him to think about the attacks going low, then start to go upstairs, sprawl on some takedowns, and maybe even, like I talked about, Trey's guillotine. Don't forget about Ignacio's long man chokes. This boy is 6'3". He's got some nice little chokes in his game too. And yeah, and also it's funny, his fight against Zhu Rong, right? I made a joke. I said something along the lines of like, if you thought a guy that missed weight by 5 pounds and dyed his hair pink is beating Ignacio Bahamondes in a fight, then I'm sorry, my friend, but Zhu Rong. You know what I'm saying, dog? So, yeah, I got to go Ignacio Bahamondes. Put the striking clinic on this kid. Show that you're leveling up. You're training with the right people. You're ready for this fight. And just don't let him get off on his vet tactics, man. And he should be able to come out here and win this one. So, yeah, I like Ignacio here. Next up in the featherweight division, this is one of the tougher ones. We got Steve Garcia. He's 13-5, taking on Yilan Nurdanbieke, who's 39-10. Currently, they got it. Yilan minus 210. The comeback on minus 220. The comeback on Steve is plus 180. So, well, Yilan's not going to be participating in a fixed fight anymore, dude. Okay, so when so 2 hours before the Yilan versus Derek Minner fight happened, right? And you see the massive like $2 line move, and you're like, yo, like that's already like kind of sus. Like, yo, what the fuck is going on here, right? And then the fight starts, and like I felt so dirty watching that. I literally felt like, wow, I just watched a fixed fight. Like, that is disgusting. Oh man, should I get into the Jeff Molina rant or not? Because I know people are gonna take it the wrong way, but like I kind of feel like this is a good time to go on the Jeff Molina rant. Should I do it, or should I just leave it, and spare my reputation, which is crazy. But all right, fuck it. Look, so I don't know if y'all heard some of the shit that went down with this Jeff Molina, James Krause, all that. But so word on the street is that Derek knew he was going to throw the fight. James knew he was going to throw the fight. Throw the fight, rather. And all this stuff, right? And so Jeff Molina. So I got Taylor, just post that in the chat here, so I don't have to go back to Twitter. But okay, so basically, like, all the line movement was extremely sketchy. You mix that in the fact that James Krause was not only tied into these guys, was heavily tied into the betting game. I mean, facts. He had his betting podcast, he had his syndicate, he had all these things, right? So there's the investigation going on, right? And people are talking about how well, we don't have proof or whatever. We got a lot of proof. I mean, I've heard from inside people that know, like, the risk managers at sports books that know, like, that are in with the books, telling me that, like, hey, they pulled up some of these guys' accounts and they saw them steaming Yilan. They saw them steaming the round one prop, the round one KO, the under 1.5, the inside the disc, like all those just got fucking blown out by these specific guys. So Jeff Molina, his account being one of them, we saw what you did, buddy. You're under federal investigation. But because a video leaked of Jeff Molina, sucking dick, which I don't have an issue with. I mean, do you, bro? Like, who gives a fuck? Like, I like hot chicks. You like dudes. There's no reason we can't coexist. Like, I can't help what I like. You can't help what you like. So who gives a shit? Like, be you, bro. Do you? Love is love. I don't give a shit. But what I think is fucking absolutely hilarious is how all these, woke ass fucking white knight media members trying to let's just take the fact that this guy Molina tried to compromise the integrity of the sport by participating in a fixed fight. And let's just sweep that under the rug because the guy was sucking dick. So apparently if you're gay, you get a pass for fixing fights. Now, before anyone even tries to remotely make a categorically false argument that I'm homophobic, which, like, no, I'm not. Like, I train at a very diverse gym. Like, I live a very diverse life, like, in terms of, like, my family's from all over the world. My friends are from all over the world. Seen them all. Like, I don't have an issue if you're a cool person. Do what you want to do. Even the dudes that dress like women, like, yeah, like, don't bring that around my son. But, like, I don't think you should be arrested. I think you should fucking do it. Do what makes you happy. Whoever you want to date, be you. Like, yeah, it might not be my style, but, like, I don't give a shit. I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Don't tell me what to do, right? But the fact that these media members are calling Jeff Molina a role model, a trailblazer, because you came out the closet and you're using that as a mask over your involvement in fixing fights. So now you get a pass. So basically, oh yeah, good point. And this is all allegedly. So don't even, all allegedly talking, right? Like, so I can go, like, commit a crime, but if I tell someone I'm gay, I get a pass. That's where we're at in 2023. And guys, don't take that the wrong way too, because, like, I don't give a flying fuck if he's, I don't give a fuck if he's sucking dick. I don't give a shit what he does. Do you, bro? Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I like women. You like men. No big deal. Like, I really don't care. I support your right to get married. I support all your legal rights. All good. The point I'm trying to make is, why are we all of a sudden taking him being involved in fight fixing, and we're brushing it under the rug because he's gay. Now he's a hero. Now he's a role model. Now it doesn't even fucking matter that he was involved in compromising the integrity of the sport, fixing a fight. Like, that was disgusting, dude. Like, I don't care if you're straight doing that. I don't care if you're gay doing that. I don't care if you're fucking white, black, Muslim, Jewish, like, whatever, bro. The fact that you were involved in, fixing fights, like, we're supposed to give you a pass just because you're gay? Like, what? Like, dude, go marry a dude. I have zero issue with that. Like, be you. Like, so do your thing, man. Like, I really do not give a fuck. I have no issue with someone being attracted to who they're naturally attracted to. Like I said, it's not my fault that I like very attractive women. So it'd be a completely asshole thing of me to say, to hold it against someone for who they're attracted to. I can't tell someone what to be attracted to. My thing is, you're trying to pull the wool over our eyes and try to act like, oh, he gets a exactly, rob a bank. But if I say I'm gay, then it's all good. Like, you're trying to pull the wool over our eyes to a serious fucking thing he did, fixing a fight. But because he's gay, oh, now he's a role model. Now he gets a free pass. Fuck that, bro. Fuck that. Okay. Anyways, so back to Yilan Nurdanbieke. Don't hold that shit against him. He wasn't in on it. He didn't know his opponent was going to go down to the first strike. So Big Bird said, my only issue is that I didn't get the leak on Minner. You know what I'm saying, Doc? But back to this. Yilan Nurdanbieke, he's been around the game a long time, man. I mean, this is his 50th pro fight that we know of, right? He's a very physical guy. He'll come out brawling early, and as the fights start to slow down, then that's when he's going to start to mix in his takedowns, start to hold you down. And with Steve Garcia, man, very tall for featherweight, very tall for featherweight, 6 feet tall with a 73-inch reach. 70. Yeah. Oh man, I got the hiccups at the perfect time. So Steve Garcia, very tall for the weight class, kind of wild with his strikes, but he's been around the game a very long time. I mean, this is a guy that actually has a win over Ronnie Lawrence, who is a pretty badass wrestler for MMA. So here it's about, like, I think the physicality of Yilan is his biggest kind of, asset going in here. And I think kind of the more volume, the more wild strikes, the length, the kind of just chaotic approach of Steve Garcia is his path. So this is one where I'm not really sure. So when I'm not really sure, I'll lean with the dog at this price. Like, do y'all think that Yilan's going to just control him for 3 rounds? Or two of the 3 rounds? Like, if so, like, because I need to see more evidence of. So the evidence I have of Steve Garcia getting controlled was in the Luis Pena fight. But that's more of Luis Pena, 6'3", so he's able to get him in that body lock and the body triangle. Yilan, I don't think he's anywhere remotely close to 6'3". He's 5'8". So, it's just, yeah, this is a tough one to call because I just don't know. I'll lean Steve Garcia. Last but not least, in the strawweight division, we got a matchup between Jacqueline Amorim, who's 6-0, taking on Sam Hughes, who's 7-5. Currently, they got it. Jacqueline Amorim, she's minus 250, taking on Sam Hughes, who's plus 190. So, what's interesting about this is that Jacqueline Amorim, she's a legitimate world champion black belt in jiu-jitsu. So already her credentials are on point. And, she's ran through every single person she's fought on her regional scene, whether it's one-punch knockout powers, whether it's one-punch knockouts, whether it's arm bars, whether it's this, whether it's that. She's ran through them all. I guess, if I have to nitpick, she kind of does shoot kind of from a mile out and this and that. But when she finally gets you down, she gets you down. And her black belt is super legit. And this with Sam Hughes is like, so my initial issues with her is that, like, she just didn't have that, like, sense of urgency. She was just kind of like timid in a vast majority of these fights. But like, she's got cardio, and like, you start to gas out on her, that's when she kind of can take over. But she also gives up a lot of takedowns. Like, if we're going to pull up the numbers, she gave up 5 takedowns versus Pereira Rodriguez. She gave up 2 versus Luana. She gave up 4 versus Loma Lukbumi, who is not a grappler. She gave up 1 versus Tisha. So she's given up a shit ton of takedowns. and it might only take one with Jacqueline Amorim, considering her jiu-jitsu pedigree. So yeah, well, I do think that there will come a time to fade Jacqueline. You know, she's never been in there with a legit opponent. All her fights have been smooth sailing, 100%. It's just that Sam Hughes is very easy to be taken down. Sam Hughes can get into these low volume fights. She's very hesitant sometimes. Occasionally you'll see her find her groove, you know, if you're quite not on the level and you start to fatigue as the fights progress, then Sam Hughes can have some success. But I see this being a spot where, you know, Jacqueline Amorim probably submits Sam Hughes. And then down the line, we can talk about fading Amorim, you know, when she actually gets a real, I mean, this is actually a step up, and I'm saying like a real step up. Like Sam Hughes is like bottom of the barrel of this weight class. So once she gets a little step up, then we'll consider the fade. But for here, I think Jacqueline is gonna do her thing, come out here and submit her. So yeah, I'm gonna go Jacqueline Amorim. All right, everybody, do me a huge favor: smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'm gonna talk about the fight to watch and the fighter to watch, and then I'm down to answer any questions. And then after that, we'll get out of here. And if dude that was saying all that stuff about Perrin wants to come in here, there's the link in the chat. So you just come on here side by side. Let's chop it up. Fight to watch. Fight to watch is Kevin Holland versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. This is actually a crossroads fights for both fights, man. I mean, when you're talking about Kevin Holland, I mean, he just retired after his Chimaev fight, came back, took a fucking massive ass whooping against Wonderboy, but we know the kind of potential and we know the kind of athletic gifts, and we've seen his finishing ability along the way. With Santiago Ponzinibbio, man, he was so close to getting that title shot. He almost died. Then he came back, hasn't quite looked the same, but maybe now he's starting to get his groove back a little bit. If he can make this a battle of wills and a battle of hearts, he is absolutely live here. The only issue is his durability has been diminishing. We know that Holland's very dangerous early. So for that reason, Holland versus Ponzinibbio is the fight to watch. That's a very intriguing matchup. And my fighter to watch is Adrian Yanez, man. I mean, I think that some people have a hard time accepting these new prospects, and people start making these ridiculous arguments about how well, he's never faced anybody like this guy. And it's like, well, had Francis Ngannou ever fought anybody like Alistair Overeem before he knocked him out? Like, they're called steps up in competition. Had Jamal ever fought anyone like Glover before he fought him? No, it's called step up in competition. And this is called rising to the occasion. So I can't stand it when people are like, oh, he's only fought Tony Kelly and fucking Gustavo, whatever. It's like, bro, like, that's irrelevant. This is a step up. Can he rise to the occasion? Because if he does, watch out, because this is a guy to look out for. Very fan-friendly style. Knockouts. He's a nice guy. Hard not to root for. Adrian Yanez is my fighter to watch. All right, so I'm down to answer some fan questions. Last call. And then, Leo, what are you doing, bro? Huh? This guy's always whenever I'm doing my podcast, Leo, he likes to mess with me. He'll start like biting my feet or trying to take my shoe to try to get me to laugh, and I'll have to like hold my composure and do all these things. But anyways, last call for questions. I'm gonna scroll up to the top. Y'all leave me some questions. I'm also gonna repost the link one last time. So if Buddy wants to come in here, go side by side with me and make your points about why Jay Perrin's a future world champion. Let's do it, you know? So hey, stop that. Stop that. Stop that. All right. So leave it. Leave it. Leave it. Sorry, this motherfucker is like trying to eat my mic cords and shit. I can't allow that to happen. Leo, leave it. So let's see what we got here. Got my boy Marcus. Locked in at my bookstore. I appreciate you, fam. Y'all make sure y'all check out my boy, the Nubian Bookstore in Atlanta. Marcus, let's get together. Let's get me, you, Cody Durden, Jared Gooden, Robert Hale, some of the other guys. Like, let's all get together and go to lunch or dinner sometime, bro. I'd love to, man. Let's see. Tajik, what's up, man? Let's go, Dan. I appreciate that, bro. Alex said he's checking in a little late. Well, we appreciate you checking in general, bro. We're doing great. What up, stud? What up, Cope? My boy Cope, cool ass dude, known him a long time. My boy Danny liked the pronunciation of Rob Font, Hobby Font. You know how we get down in Brazil. That Brave shirt, you already know, dog. Hey, my Braves have been coming out, swinging out the gates this year. God damn, things you love to see. That you know what I'm fucking saying. Let's see. Oh shit, VCR repairman. It's good to see you back in here. He said, I didn't run to the window to bet Jay, Perrin, I walked. Hey, you walked so we could run. I appreciate that, bro. Benjamin said Dan minus 130 versus Perrin. In jiu-jitsu, it might be a little higher than that, bro. Especially with the gi on. C-Rod is more tested. I agree. I mean, he was in there with JSP. Just apologies in advance that I wasn't able to get to all these because y'all left me a bunch of awesome questions, and I'm just grateful that we've been able to grow this. And my boy Dan said, "Barking dog means action man's a lock." All right, I feel that. Yeah, some of y'all's comments are hilarious, man. So I'm just scrolling through here. Donnie said Calvillo really is a shell of herself and doesn't handle pressure well. This is correct. All right, I don't know if there's anything else I need to say. Y'all been giving me some great. Big Bird said, "How is Shaq doing? Hope he is doing well. Always loved hearing him on the podcast." Yeah, I wish him nothing but the best, and he was a great part of the show, and I'm grateful for our time together on this show and beyond that. So yeah, I wish Shaq nothing but the best, man, and I hope he's doing well. Cashback says, "Salute, Dan. Keep the money coming in." I appreciate that, my dog. My love, Decita said, "Is this parlay safe enough, or should I add or remove something?" Ignacio money line, Williams money line, Burns money line, Raul Rosas money line, Raul Rosas by Silver DeVitt. I mean, bro, when you got that many legs, it's not safe. It's not safe at all. But I mean, don't put too much. Don't put anything too crazy on it, and just have a little fun. All right. I think we got someone wanting to come in here and talk to me. Are you there, buddy? Showed your face a second ago on the backstage. Oh, there you are. What's up, Taylor?
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
Oh, dude, living the dream. How about yourself?
Absolutely, man. Tell me what's going on.
All right, so I put your stat as per requested on this phone. Forgive me, I'm on my phone.
You're good.
I might have to exit out. I'm gonna do a little mic check, and
you're good, bro. We can hear you.
Oh, you can if I exit out to this.
Well, now you're gone. Come back in, bro.
Okay, so I'll just jump out real quick and give you the number. So,
all right. So he's about to fill us in with a little stat. So Let's see. Let's see what this stat is all about. And by the way, this is not the guy that I invited earlier that was saying that that Jay Perrin's a future pound for pound GOAT. I'm still waiting for him to join here, man. Let me know what's up, bro. Let's talk, man. Like, we don't have to insult each other. Let's just hear each other out. Sometimes things get taken out of context through text and typing and all that. Yeah. Go Braves.
So
What's
so
up?
many notes. So many notes. So
All right,
I'm
let's
not
hear
sure.
it. Let's hear it. Come
But
on.
basically, it looks like only two champs have. Or wait, hold on a second.
All right, bro. This is last chance. We can't leave the fans hanging, man. So let's get it together. He's gonna give me some good info on like the champs that lost their belt coming back and all that stuff. So
Okay, so only one who has lost via KO or TKO currently has ever regained their belt back after 2 or more defenses, and that's Stipe Miocic.
Stipe. Yep.
Nobody else.
All right. So
and
basically,
2 others come to mind for submission losses, just off the top of my head after briefly looking over because it's a long list. Figueiredo, if you want to count him, because there's a little gray area because a draw in there, and then Nunes. So 3 champs that I can think of that have been finished and come back for immediate rematches that have won out of 42 champs that have had more than 2 or more consecutive title defenses.
Nice. Okay, so basically, the only guy to ever come back from being knocked out to lose his belt and then regain it is Stipe.
Correct. And what did I say? 5 or 6 out of the 42, if you want to call it 42 champs that have had 2 or more consecutive title defenses. Only 6 that have lost it, not vacated, but lost it, have come back and regained it. So 30% chance. Do what you want with that mathematically, but just interesting. Been bored.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you bringing that to the table, bro.
Yeah. Be good, man. Be good. Appreciate it.
Likewise. Take care, buddy. That's pretty cool to know that like only one guy that's lost his belt via knockout has been able to successfully come back and reclaim it, and that was Stipe. And 2 fights later, he got knocked out by Francis. So nothing great lasts forever. But guys, thank you all so much for being here for me, with me. Please smash the like button, hit the subscribe button. When this is over, leave me a comment, and then also feel free to share. All that stuff truly means a lot to me. And let's keep growing the show. Let's cash these bets. And Droid asked me thoughts on WWE being acquired. I mean, cool. Just fighters' pay is gonna go up, more exposure. I mean, it's not like we're gonna like people were like making it seem like they're gonna have shows with the octagon here and the wrestling cage, the wrestling ring here, and they're gonna go back and forth. Like, that's not what's gonna happen, guys. It's just that the parenting company that owns one just bought the other, so it's not going to affect us as far as I'm concerned. But guys, thank you guys so much for everything. Truly appreciate it. Y'all can follow me on Twitter at Best Fight Picks. Subscribe to Half the Battle everywhere podcasts are found. I will have a new series coming out called Technique of the Week, where I'm going to be showing some jiu-jitsu techniques, not during this show. This is Half the Battles, the fight breakdown, something separate. There's just, on a different day of the week, just to give you all a little extra content. Even if you don't train jiu-jitsu, maybe it'll help you understand certain positions and the intricacies of them and whatnot, or it's just entertaining. Whatever the deal is, letting y'all know, dropping that soon. So this comment's hilarious. He said Technique of the Week, episode 1, Jeff Molina. Oh man. Y'all gotta chill. But guys, seriously, thanks so much for everything. Truly appreciate it. Smash the like, hit the subscribe. When this is over, leave me that comment. Feel free to share, tell a friend. And until the next time, let's cash these bets.